Today I'll be covering Portal Revolution, a mod created by Second Phase Software that it's taken 8 long years to develop, in a game I personally consider to be an excellent contender to take the title of Portal 3. And even though 8 years may seem like a long time, that's still a shorter amount of time than it has taken Valve to give us even a shred of Portal content, even if you consider Aperture Desk Job to be actual content and not anything more than a demo to show off their shiny new Steam Deck.
Hello?
Now, even though it may be obvious, I'm still going to put up a spoiler warning, so if you plan to play the game yourself, I recommend going and doing that before moving on with the video. The beginning starts off with you being woken up after you've been kept in a chemically induced hibernation for 32 years to immediately be put to work on the Human Emergency Response Team. You are made to partake in a mental and physical test to qualify for the opportunity presented to you. Upon exiting your room, you are ushered into your first set of tests, including a brain damage test, where your only requirement to prove that your brain is still fully functional is pressing a red button placed directly in front of you, likely to deter any California resident or anyone who still believes Valve will actually release another Portal game. After gathering your Aperture handheld Portal device, not dissimilar to the original Portal, you're made to complete a series of basic tests. But upon entry to the 7th chamber, your host directing you through the intercoms informs you that in this next section, some aerial faith plates may be miscalibrated due to semi-recent events. Upon completion of this chamber, the person who has been speaking to you in an extremely forced voice, not unsimilar to the videos that you're forced to watch before going into laser tag instructing you to not run or shit on the inside of the arena, begins to speak differently than before, revealing that even though it may have seemed like pre-recorded dialogue, someone is actually talking to you from somewhere inside the facility. Entering the next chamber, you're informed that you're approaching the final testing room, and after completion, you'll finally be able to join the Human Emergency Response Team. However, as you're nearing the end of the level, an aerial faith plate launches you towards a wall that quickly retracts and allows you to pass through the testing chamber, landing directly in front of the person who has been directing you throughout the chambers so far. Confetti and congratulations sign readied specifically for your arrival, the yet-to-be-named core, and presumably the person who's been talking to you the whole time, has this to say to you.
I'll be honest with you now. There is no Aperture Science Human Emergency Response Team. I made it up. Sorry for lying to you. Before I can explain why I brought you here, we need to get you registered as an Aperture employee. We don't want security systems to hunt you down after all. The Guardian and Intrusion system doesn't like it when test subjects escape the chambers. There's a security checkpoint nearby. Follow me.
Upon following the core, you are brought to an Aperture Science employee registration station, where you are scanned into the system as Aperture's newest janitor. There you also learn this core's name is Sterling, the facilities manager. Entering the next room, Sterling informs us that the entire facility is in a state of disarray, and while not directly named, it's insinuated that this is because of GLaDOS and the events that transpired during the first Portal game, and he needs your help to enable a device that he will use to repair the entire enrichment center, because only a human is able to activate the device. So now that we discover the reason for being woken up from our chemically induced hibernation, you and Sterling set off immediately towards an elevator that will get you closer to the surface. And along the way, you come across turrets that are being destroyed. Normally, this would raise no alarms to a veteran Portal player, but Sterling has something interesting to say about this.
Poor turrets. You might think that their pain is only simulated, but how is it different to yours or mine? They really don't deserve to be shredded, but don't worry. All their scrap will be recycled for production, and only surplus turrets get shredded after all.
This is pretty uncharacteristic for what we're used to hearing from core intelligences, right? And almost instantly afterwards, he asks you a bit more about your personal life and has this to say.
So, I'm looking through your records, and I see you have a family. How are the kids? Oh no. You know what? Forget I asked that. I am so sorry.
These interactions set Sterling up to seem almost human, or the closest thing that a core intelligence has attempted so far. Sympathizing with the turret's simulated pain, questioning the moral boundaries of them being destroyed, and even sympathizing with the loss of your family from being kept in stasis for so long is able to put the player at ease knowing that Sterling just might not be out to take over the entire facility and kill you in the process. During a conversation Sterling is having with you about the Human Emergency Response Team, he brings up a proposal which further indicates that, unlike other cores we see in the Portal series, he just might not be a deranged sociopath, and offers your freedom in exchange for your help. Making your way through a dark and noisy catwalk, you're greeted again by Sterling, who has a surprise for you. an elevator leading directly to the surface. Normally a very exciting prospect for someone who's been trapped underground for an untold amount of time, but on the ride up, he does have this to say.
Look, I know what you're thinking. You really don't trust me. And I've done nothing but sounding like a raving lunatic or a sociopath. Probably both at once, if I'm gonna be honest. In the interest of transparency, this elevator will take you up to the surface. Only thing is, it's not all the way out of the enrichment center. When we get to the surface, we still have a little way to go before we can complete your half of the deal. I'll try to help you where I can with these old test chambers, but there's been a lot of decay, if you catch my drift. But hey, look at the bright side. There's fresh air, it's sunny outside, and I think there's a cool breeze. Just watch out for wild animals. Those are brutal. With any luck, this should take just a few minutes, and then you can go free. Hope we're in the clear now.
And once we eventually do reach the surface,
go take a look out that window for a moment. See that huge spire in the distance? That's where we're headed. Little confession. I don't know for sure whether it still works. It is possible that there is just a pile of rubble waiting for us.
Judging by how torn apart this place is, I'd give that chance a possibility of... Ooh, you know what? Never mind.
So now we learn that, to no surprise, the surface of the facility has decayed. And it's even possible that our main goal, the spire, has decayed along with the rest of the facility and may no longer be functional. But there's only one way to find out, so we begin our trek along the surface. However, we quickly learn from Sterling that in order to reach the spire, we must find a testing track and maneuver our way through a series of test chambers, as they were built to be a lot more durable than the rest of the facility, and is likely the majority of the remaining surface buildings. Making our way throughout the old and torn apart testing facility, our friend Sterling realizes that we have no idea what happened, and decides to give us a little bit of backstory on why everything is such a mess.
Oh, I just realized. You don't even know how this all happened. Well, long ago, Aperture was run by a central core capable of monitoring and maintaining the whole facility. Certain tasks were outsourced to other cores, like me. Everything was great. You know, a true utopia. Until one human test subject, this little monster, just had to ruin our lives and killed her. And that's that. Most of my colleagues either went crazy, died, or disappeared. What else were we supposed to do if we can't fulfill our purpose?
So now we have another piece of the puzzle, and using a bit of deduction, we can reason that the old central core was in fact GLaDOS, and the test subject mentioned has to be none other than Shell. And given that Sterling says it was a long time ago, but GLaDOS is still dead, means that we can piece together that everything happening right now is taking place between the events of Portal 1 and Portal 2. Well after GLaDOS' death, enough time for most of the facility to rot away, but before Shell is reawakened and the events of Portal 2 transpire. Now, something noteworthy that you may have noticed while Sterling was speaking is that he's very deliberately withholding information from the player here. Not once mentioning that GLaDOS was the one who killed off everyone in the facility with a neurotoxin gas, and calling Shell a little monster. Given that the current person you're playing as is not Shell, and was in a chemically induced hibernation throughout the events of Portal 1, she would have no idea that some very valuable information is being withheld from her. That means that only we, the player, are able to tell that something might be going on behind the scenes that Sterling is trying to hide from us. Take a listen to this line again.
What else were we supposed to do if we can't fulfill our purpose?
And this one as well.
There's a reason I don't use those scripts. Could barely get through them when I first tested you. Remember that? What did you think of my announcing voice, by the way? I've been practicing it.
These might not seem like very important lines, and you might be right, but what they do show us is one very key thing about Sterling's character for now. He's insecure, lost, and probably just lonely, wondering what more to his existence there is beyond his designated role in the company, masking his real voice before he's sure you're a good fit to help his system to achieve his goals, and actively seeking validation from you. While none of these make him a bad person, we do start to see the cracks showing through his other words happy-go-lucky attitude so far. Another piece of dialogue I'd like to highlight is just one test chamber ahead of where we learned of some of his insecurities, and Sterling has this to say.
I'd love to help you solve the puzzles, but even after watching hundreds of people solve and hurt themselves in these chambers, I still don't get it. I'll just stick to maintenance if you don't mind. All about the simple things.
That's right. Sterling has no idea how to solve these test chambers, even after seeing hundreds of people complete it. He is, after all, a janitorial bot, and would have no reason to know how to solve the chambers in the first place. He was only ever here to clean up after the test subjects. But that also brings into question if he even knows how to fix the facility at all. But now, at long last, we're finally getting an upgrade to our portal gun. Shooting only blue portals has been a big hindrance in getting to our destination. But now, we might finally start making some real distance. So what if it's a little beat up? If it works, then there's no reason to worry. After making our way out of the chamber and attempting to go lower again, our elevator gets stuck, and we're cut off from Sterling's line of sight. So he tasks us with finding another test chamber, so he can start directing us to the spire again. Eventually finding our way to a new chamber, Sterling informs us that we're now slightly off course, and this will take just a little bit longer now. And it looks like he was right. After going through some pretty long chambers, we're now only 2 away. And Sterling is informing us a little bit more about the activation process for the spire that only a human can do, telling us that it's some sort of test that only a smart human mind can solve. Making our way through the last test chambers, we've at long last finally reached the spire, and it's time to hold up our end of the deal. While we're making our way up the spire, in a meeting room, we can see plans for some kind of non-local matter displacement device, which is described as the next generation teleportation engine. And in the very next room, we get to see exactly that. The spire isn't just a machine for cleaning up and repairing the facility like Sterling told us at first, it's a giant teleportation device. Sterling instructs us to look for the mechanism to power on the spire, and we happily oblige. And the super complicated test Sterling informed us of turns out to be just pressing a big red button in the middle of the room. After powering on the spire, Sterling informs us that we need to run a couple of checks to make sure that everything is still in order. And so, he sends us a companion cube. This will be important in just a second, so just keep in mind that this isn't a regular weighted storage cube. Instructing us to put the companion cube into the specimen chamber on the left, we start the first test.
The cube will be teleported to the other chamber. Oh, please work. Starting first jump, now! It worked. It actually worked.
And it's a success. But we learned from Sterling that the spire is able to swap any 2 volumes of matter in the entire universe without the need of portals. Then, something dark happens. Something that only the player is able to understand. Sterling has us incinerate the companion cube, and just in case you may have forgotten, there's a possibility that these cubes are sentient and able to feel pain. More information withheld from the player, and a very drastic turn from the Sterling that seemed to care so much about sentient creatures being put through unneeded pain and suffering at the beginning. But immediately after we dispose of the companion cube, Sterling tells us this.
Hate to break it to you, but there is one more test we need to pass. First comes inanimate, then animate. Please enter the specimen chamber.
Stepping into the chamber, Sterling strips us of our aperture janitor position so that we can be registered as a test subject. The test is about to begin, but not before Sterling has something truly harrowing to say.
Good. We're almost there. Thank you for doing this for us. Well, time to put an end to the collapse. Let's rebuild the central core. Oh, right. You probably know her as GLaDOS. It's about time we bring her back, don't you think? That monster spread her parts all over the facility, even the parking lot. No way in hell I could get her back together without this machine. Time to start the test. See you on the other side. That's not good. What are you doing in there? Get out of there! I can't turn it off! You're back. Thought I lost you. I can fix this. I know I can. Just give me a second. It actually worked. I almost fixed it. I'll try to get you out of this spaceship loop. Gotta be quick about this before you leave again. Get ready.
The test has gone wrong and teleported us to the very bottom of the facility. And even worse than that, Sterling revealed that his plan all along wasn't to repair the facility, but to repair GLaDOS. With our portal gun in shambles, we make our way through the eerie, cavernous bottom of Aperture Science to hopefully find and stop Sterling before he has a chance to go through with the rebuilding of GLaDOS. After what feels like hours of walking, we eventually stumble upon what seems to be an old tourist center. Powering it on, we're greeted by a pre-recorded message letting us know that we're back in the Enrichment Center. Making our way over to an information display, we get ourselves a brand new shiny red portal gun that, you guessed it, shoots red portals. Working our way back up the facility and even through a few more test chambers, which have this new and really fun wind tube able to suck up turrets and cubes, we find ourselves inside of an office with dead cores scattered around. Following the instructions on a projector screen, we find a disc and put it into this white machine. Immediately afterwards, a machine behind the glass starts up and loads the disc onto a blank core. Upon waking up, the core has this to say.
We done? What? Oh! Hey! What's happening here? Where am I? What the? Who are you? What's going on here? Where are my hands? No, this can't be possible, can it? Okay, let's do this properly. Sorry for my freak out. I will explain what just happened, but let's get out of here first.
So it's apparent that whoever's consciousness was just loaded onto that disk clearly shouldn't have been on there. This core wants us to go to a hub, and quickly along the way, we learn that she's scared of the dark, and might just be a skittish person in general. However, listening to her talk more, we learn that, just like us, she's missing several decades worth of information on what happened here. But after placing her onto a management rail, we finally get a proper introduction to learn just who this person is.
So, again, I'm sorry for my erratic introduction. I'm Amelia Conley, and I work in Aperture's research group for artificial intelligence. Well, I did. Until now. See, my main contributions were in the field of brain scanning, and it seems like one of my old scans just got loaded into this robot. I knew the risks of this happening. We enforced strict backup removal routines so we wouldn't accidentally clone our minds. But here we are.
So now we've learned that her name is Amelia Conley, and she worked on artificial intelligence, brain scans, and was never actually supposed to end up as a core. You probably think that's great and all, but what does that have to do with anything happening right now? Well, we'll get back to that in a little bit, so just hold on to that piece of information for now. Pretty soon, earthquakes start to shake the entire facility, and Amelia lets us know that they aren't normal for the area.
What was... I swear, these earthquakes aren't normal here. What is that?
Making our way back to the base of the spire, Amelia has something very interesting to say that'll probably make any longtime Valve fans' synapses fire like chimps watching Curious George.
Oh no. I believe this might be an old, dangerous teleportation experiment. Here we've got ourselves the Aperture Science Non-Local Matter Displacement Device. Quite a mouthful, I know. Our team affectionately dubbed it the Spire. Adds a bit of pizzazz to it, right?
It was developed as a successor to the Borealis experiments from the 70s, but I've never seen it with my own eyes.
You heard that right. The machine that we just fucked around with is a direct successor to the Borealis. Yes, that Borealis. In the spirit of saving time, Amelia, with her new admin perms, proposes that we jump into a garbage chute, which are wind tunnels similar to the ones in the test chambers, but strong enough to suck us up into, and she'll route us to the upper layers of the facility. But we're only able to get about halfway where we need to be, and she wants us to go solve chambers to get closer to the top while she researches more about the Spire. A little bit up ahead, Amelia returns to tell us this.
I found some internal documents for the Spire, which is 20 megabytes large. How did they figure out how to fit all that on a single drive?
While this might not be directly consequential to the story, it implies that an entire human brain scan can fit onto a drive significantly smaller than 20 megabytes, which, for reference, the Steam launcher itself is about 1.5 gigabytes. Maybe that explains why these cores turn out to be absolute fucking psychopaths. Just a thought. As another tremor strikes, Amelia informs us that these aren't earthquakes at all, but rather the Spire is siphoning off resources from down below as a part of its power-up sequence. And that despite Aperture loving to stick its metaphorical dick in a blender to see what happens, even they were too scared to keep experimenting with this thing. Right before we're about to head into another test chamber, Amelia gives us a brief rundown on what happened in Portal 1 and questions why nobody, not even Black Mesa, have been around to check things out. After completion of the test chamber, more pre-recorded messages play for us, and side by side with Amelia, we learn that they're one and the same person. And just like Sterling, it seems like she doesn't like the sound of her own voice, pleading with the intercoms to turn it off.
There's cake and beverages in the break room.
On the elevator ride up, she reveals that she used to be a voice actor for the company when she joined as an intern, and seems like she really doesn't like the results of it. As we're making our way across a large gap in classic Portal fashion, Amelia freaks out.
Don't do that again. For my sake, please. You're gonna give me a heart attack.
Even though she has no heart for a heart attack, we can see that she's a skittish person after all, and doesn't like the sight of anything that could potentially hurt somebody. Meeting back up with Amelia, she has us take her off the rail and carry her up the elevator, where we eventually find Sterling watching us through a camera.
Oh, I found you!
Who's that now?
I was quite worried where that teleporter could have left you. At least he didn't suffocate on a wall, so that's good. Tell you what, why don't you come back and join me here in the Spire? Charging up the teleporter as we speak to continue our mission you so rudely interrupted.
What mission?
Oh, who's your little sidekick? Cute. You can join us if you want.
Join you? With what?
We just want to repair the facility. I will pick up the remains of our former central core, reassemble her, and bring her back to life.
Wait, who are you talking about? Are you talking about GLaDOS? You want to bring back GLaDOS?
That's what the humans call her, yes.
Whoa.
After Sterling finds us, he invites us back to the Spire to help him reassemble the scattered pieces of GLaDOS, and Amelia picks up on this reasonably fast and freaks out a little bit just before the TV blows up. During our travels back to the Spire, Amelia manages to bring up a really good point.
Is he really trying to bring back GLaDOS? He's right about one thing, though. The facility is already barely holding together, and that won't change unless we put someone in charge of the central core. But why her? Why doesn't he just take the crown for himself?
She's questioning why Sterling doesn't just take over the facility for himself. Why does he need to bring GLaDOS back in the first place? And I think the answer to that question is that he's incapable of running the facility by himself. I mean, he already told us himself that he isn't able to solve the testing chambers on his own. So why would he be able to manage the entirety of one of, if not the most highly advanced scientific facility on the face of the Earth? In fact, it's possible that he's already tried, given that he seems to be the only core in the facility still functioning before we uploaded Amelia's brain scan, so if he was able to do everything himself, he would have never needed us in the first place. Amelia lets us know that she won't be in contact with us in the next test chamber, and is very adamant on not letting Sterling convince us to bring GLaDOS back. Sterling, possibly realizing that he's in a little bit of trouble, tries to butter us up a little bit, telling us that nobody could have pressed that button like we did. But he also believes that he recognizes Amelia's voice and wants us to introduce him to her. While this isn't completely out of the ordinary, since Amelia was an employee here a long time ago, we have no idea just how old Sterling is. Before we make our way upwards, Sterling lets us know that the earthquakes from before were caused by him collecting gel from the bottom layers to mix new teleportation juice for the Spire, since the accident that sent us to the bottom of the facility before used up all the remaining fluid. Once we make it to the next floor, Amelia says that she has some good news for us.
Finally found you again. I've got some news. He wants to use the unstable Spire teleporter to put together GLaDOS, right? If we can go into the control room and cut power from the core, we have a real chance of preventing a catastrophic meltdown.
So now, our mission is cutting power from the core, and with Amelia's help, we have a good chance at preventing the Spire from melting down. She also lets us know that she has an escape plan for us in the next room that will lead us directly to the Spire.
So, I have decided. You betrayed me. Twice. I have given you enough chances. Something tells me that your new little friend managed to turn you against me, so I'm just going to kill you. Now, before you become any sort of threat. Again, thank you for your help. You served us well. Now you might be thinking, but Sterling, my dear, how am I going to die? And the answer will be, no, don't do that. Where are you going?
Wait, did he say his name was Sterling?
Hey, come back! I can't see you!
I built a vacuum cleaner once. Called the little guy Sterling. Huh.
It seems that Sterling manages to find us first, and is pissed off that we were conspiring with Amelia to stop him from reviving GLaDOS. So now, he wants to kill us before we can become a threat to him and his plans. But just in the nick of time, without Sterling noticing, Amelia has our escape opened up for us, and we can teleport to safety. But she also notices that during his monologue, he called himself Sterling, and mentions that when she was still a human, she built a vacuum cleaner named Sterling, and thinks that it's a little odd. Entering the very exit that we threw the companion cube down, we re-enter the spire and confront Sterling once more.
Come and grab me. No rails in the chamber. You ready for this?
Welcome, ladies. Welcome to your demise. Let's get the preamble and get to it. Any last words?
Yeah, I have some. Is it possible that you were once a vacuum cleaner?
How do you know that?
I can't believe it. Oh, they grow up so fast. It's not polite to murder your mother.
You're my... But how's that possible? I was created by a human.
I can't believe my Roomba is trying to kill us.
Yes, about that. The spire is still charging. Just give me a minute. I'll murder you as soon as possible. What did you even think by coming here? Thought you could just press a button to stop me?
You mean this button?
What button?
Big and red, right in front of us.
That's not a button. Ignore it. Don't look at it.
What happens if we press it?
Nothing. Don't press the button. It's really boring, believe me.
I say we press it.
Don't press it!
So the reason Sterling thought Amelia was familiar, and Amelia found it odd that his name was Sterling, is because Amelia created him when she was still human. That would explain why he's a janitorial robot, and why he isn't able to solve chambers. In order to stop the spire from activating again, we have to make our way around the spire and hit the red button in every control room to disconnect the energy pipes. But we don't have much time before the activation, so we need to move now. Each energy pipe that we disconnect, the spire malfunctions and teleports a piece of the test chambers into the rooms around us. Using these, we're able to maneuver our way between the multiple control rooms. In the third control room, we get a little bit more backstory between Sterling and Amelia.
So, here you are. You're just back now? Where have you been?
What are you talking about?
I didn't see you again after you upgraded my chassis. We used to do everything together.
Do everything together? You were a vacuum cleaner. You cleaned up for us. Don't even ask me why we gave him consciousness.
You didn't even say goodbye.
Are you having abandonment issues right now? Is that seriously what's happening? I built a vacuum cleaner with abandonment issues.
Sterling truly saw Amelia as his mother, the woman who gave him sentience, but who then abandoned him. Throughout the years, his resentment of her grew and festered, and honestly, he's kinda justified in this. I mean, seriously, who gives a Roomba sentience and thinks it's a good idea? It's like giving a toilet the gift of life and expecting it not to be mad that all you do is shit and piss in it. There was no reason for it to be able to think and feel in the first place. Entering the last control room, the only thing to do now is press the last button and shut down the spire.
You did it! Haha! Yes!
Yes, you did it. You shattered my dreams of rebuilding my home. Are you happy now? Proud of yourself?
Look, we also want the best for Aperture, but we can't do that by reactivating GLaDOS. It's not right! You know what she did!
What's going on?
Oh my...
No!
At the end of the day, Sterling just wanted to rebuild his home. He was never truly human, so he can't really grasp the severity of what GLaDOS did. And even if he does, GLaDOS was the only one around for him. Not Shell, not us, and certainly not Amelia. So can you really blame Sterling for wanting to bring back GLaDOS? In the end, was he really a bad guy at all? Or was it Amelia for tampering with things not fully understood and expecting not to face the consequences?
Hi. Hello. I didn't think you ever told me your name, did you? Look, I'm recording this on the off chance that you actually survive. You were badly wounded in the eruption. I tried what I could, but I've never seen anything like it. I'm a neuroscientist, all right? My expertise starts and ends at brains, not bodies. Look, the best I can do right now is to put you in stasis. It might help you heal, but yeah, it's not looking good. I'm sorry, okay? I don't know what to do now. The spy is broken, so we're just stuck on the moon. I guess this is goodbye. For now. Just for now. Take care.
After we undid the last energy pipe, the Spire malfunctioned and teleported itself and everything around it to the moon, including us. Not having much of an option, Amelia explains in a pre-recorded message that in a last-ditch effort to save her life, she puts us back in stasis. With nothing more we can do, the story ends. If you managed to watch all the way to the end, thank you a lot. This is my first attempt at a video like this, so if you liked it, please like the video. And if you want to see more in the future, subscribe as well. If you have any comments on anything I said in the video, or if you think I interpreted something wrong, feel free to let me know in the comments. See you next time.